Hey, everybody. Welcome to May and your monthly market update from me. I'm trying something new this month and using Zoom to record this so that I can actually share my screen with you rather than me just hopping in stories or filming a short reel. I thought I could show you guys what I do and where I go to look at all of these numbers and just do it real time with y'all. So I did pull up a few screens, but otherwise I haven't really done a whole lot of research. I'm going to be finding out what's happening to the market at the same time that you are. So let me share my screen and let's start talking about what's happening in the market. All right. So the biggest conversation still is interest rates. They are softened a little bit. It's looking a little bit better than it was a few weeks ago when the inflation numbers, we had been trending down for months. And when the inflation numbers came back and had popped back up, from 3.4 to 3.5 or 3.3 to 3.4. I don't even remember what it was at this point. Then the whole market responded, and then therefore so did mortgage interest rates. So we are softening a little bit with regard to that. So as of today, they're at the 30-year 7.02%. And then if you did a 15-year, 6.28. That's always tended to be the lower of the two options in most cases. And then one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about. So interest rates are very difficult to predict because they're extremely volatile and they're based on this back end mortgage buying market. It's not really like, think about it this way. If it was a supply versus demand thing because there really is no limit to supply within reason. So it doesn't, like, think about in 2021 when everybody was buying and selling houses and if you could win a house, you were getting a mortgage. And so you would think, okay, then prices would go way up if we're following that economic model. But that's just not the case with mortgages because it's based on who's buying them on the back end. And I won't get too much in the minutia of that. But one of the best ways to try and predict them is to follow the 10-year treasury yield. So this is kind of like the government buying you investing in the government and then how likely they are to pay you back and at what interest. So this historically, interest rates have seemed to follow the 10-year treasury yield the closest. And so if we want to predict what's going to happen, we can look to this. So this is since 2019. And 2019 is really the most recent, very balanced market that we had. So this is a great market to look at. Interest rates were great then. Certainly they dropped big time during the height of the pandemic and then started to increase at the end of 2022. And then bam, we hit the top in October of last year and then fell and we had a nice little bump there and then they've started to go back up and then they're trending down again. And as of yesterday, 4.45. And historically, the gap between the 10-year treasury yield and interest rates is about 1.75. I think it's a little wider than that today, but it does tend to even out to about 1.75. So if you're looking for a way to predict what interest rates are going to do, this is the best way to do it. And one of the other things I will say to you, and I know I've been chirping on this for a few years, really since the end of 2022, do not base your buying on them. Don't wait for interest rates to go down to buy a house, because what tends to happen is so many buyers come out of the woodwork, then you're paying a higher purchase price because of that supply versus demand curve. So if you are ready to buy now, do it now, and then you can refinance when they inevitably come back down. So hopefully that is helpful. So every month we get this fast stats report here. I look at the Charlotte region, and this is where I kind of look and see what's happening. The biggest thing that I've been interested in really for several years now has been inventory. That's the story. That's what if you wanted to call it a housing market crash last year, We know it didn't affect prices, certainly not in the Charlotte area, negatively at all for the most part. And if it did, it was very minuscule in some zip codes. But it affects how many their houses there are to buy. And so we still have more buyers than we do houses to buy, which is what's keeping prices up. But as a realtor, where we get paid at the successful close of a house, when inventory is way, way, way down, there just aren't as many houses being sold. And so it affects us. Honestly, like, if you don't protect the housing market, so many things fall away, because the housing market supports so many people. It's not just realtors, it's not just buyers and sellers. It supports so many different areas of the economy. So it is important to protect our housing market. This is still good news. We're still even with as dire as things have been or felt like they've been with regard to interest rates, we're still up 4% year over year. With median sales price, it's even higher with average sales price. And then this is really good news, you guys. So last year was rough. Let's just go right here. So new listings is really the number that we're looking at. So in April of 2023, we had 4,423 new listings come on the market. And this year we had 5,175. Still not fabulous, right? We should be more like 7,000 to 8,000 right now, but it was a 17% positive change. That's more competition as a seller, but it still is underpacing the number of buyers that are out there. And then if you see the year-to-date change, that number flattens out a little bit, but is still to the positive. Same thing with pending sales, although the year-to-date went down. And one of the things I was looking at when I glanced at this briefly is month supply. So even though we've got days on market down, which means the length of time between when a house goes on the market and when it goes under contract, even though that's gone down, our month supply is up. And what the market is telling sellers with that number is, we'll buy your house as long as you price it right. We do not mind waiting to find the right house, because at 7.5% interest, I'm not taking on your plethora of problems with your house if you're not being realistic about its value. So that's what's really shifted with the rise in interest rates. At 7% interest, buyer A and B are just not willing to overlook all of the needs of your house, regardless of many, many things. I would say the one exception to that is if you have a really primo location where hardly any houses are coming on the market and people are desperate for that, you probably can get away with pushing price a little bit. But this is why strategic pricing is so important. But you guys, look, we're up in all the areas where you want us to be up as a seller, as a homeowner. Average sale price 9% year over year. So pretty much what this says is, if you had bought a house last year for $457,000, you could sell it this year for $500,000. That's amazing. That's 1 year. And then long term too, when you're looking at the rolling data, we're still at 8.8. That's almost 9.2. So all very good things. Your list of close dates is down, which is the amount of time between when you put it on the market and when you actually closed. Remember, you got new construction and things like that go into MLS. So that's a lot of times why these numbers are a little bit higher. So anyway, all good things there. These are the key metrics that I look at. What I do every month, and you'll get this update as well, is this is how I pull the North Charlotte region, which is the region that I watch. This is Huntersville. So I'm going to go in here every month and I'm going to go, okay, average sales price. We're up to, wow, look at little Huntersville go, you guys. Look at that. So if you had bought a house in January of 2021, which wasn't that long ago, you would have paid on average $372,000. And right now you are likely that same house, that same location. You probably haven't even painted a wall. You're sitting at $590. That is freaking incredible. I mean, and let's look at 2022 when everybody got out of the market. Like we had so many buyers walk away from the market in July of 2022 because that's when prices went up. So on average, you would have paid 507, 364 for a house, and today you'd be at 590. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? All right. So these are the numbers that I track. So, and then I say, okay, that's up 4.8%. And when I'm looking at these, I'm always looking at this rolling data here. And then price per square foot is also rolling data. That's at 220. And then the other ones I look at are month over month. So days on market is 16. That's fabulous. I will say Lewis and Kirk is we're at 3.1 right now, and we really probably could be 1, but I do encourage my sellers to let a full weekend of showings happen. So that's probably the only reason we're not at 1 there. Month supply. So that's if every house that's currently on the market sold, how long would it take to do that? We did have a little jump. And again, that goes back to you've got those few outliers that are just sitting because the sellers are not being realistic about price versus condition. So we're up to 2 months, which I think is like the highest we've been. Oh yeah. I mean, you could look at this graph and tell. That's the first time I've seen that at 2 months. It's probably just a few houses affecting that. And then new listings. So that's all the new houses that came on the market in April. We had 166. And we probably have 5 or 6 times that active buyers looking. So, but it's better. It's getting better. And I mean, it does every year, right? So here's March, April, it increases. And then again in 2023, February, March. This was last year. It was rough, you guys. Rough last year. A little better this year. So those are the numbers that I collect every month, and I will be sharing those with you too for the North Charlotte region. I'd love to know what questions you have. Definitely reach out to me if there's any other metrics that you want me to be following, but I hope this was helpful for you all in understanding what's going on. It is still a very good time to sell. Sellers that are preparing their house for the market, hiring the Lewis and Kirk team so that we can strategically price it, stage it, and market it to the right people, the right buyers with the right expectations, are winning big in this market. For buyers, you guys, there is no sign of the housing market going anywhere in the Charlotte area. And so I would encourage you to buy now before interest rates fall below 6%, because maybe even 6.5%, because when they do, every buyer and their brother and their mother is going to get out there, and then you're going to be competing against 10, 20 plus other offers instead of just a handful right now. So hope everybody has a great week. See you next month.